I'm going to make a quick video today about, this is just a tree growing in my garden. It's an Acer palmatum dissectum, so the lace leaf Japanese maple. And we are approaching, well, we're pretty much just beyond what's technically mid-spring, but for us it's becoming end of spring, beginning of summer. The tail end of spring, new growth on everything has been pushed out, hardened off, and I've gone through and done, like for example, you can see on some of the branches I did the spring pruning back on new shoots. This is all new growth from this year. And one thing that I need to do now is come back in here and remove these longer pieces so that the tree stays nice and compact. A big problem that I see a lot of the time in the gardens that I go into, as I do for work, is that nobody's really working on their tree until autumn, and by that time the long growth is extended all the way out, which is causing the interior leaves and branches to die because they're not getting any light. So the tree continues to swell, the interior continues to die off, and then when you want to do a cutback, you're going to end up with a bunch of dead branches on the inside. But it's a little bit easier to maintain, and it keeps your winter silhouette of the tree a little bit more pretty if you will do spring work as well as autumn work. Twice a year is recommended. And I also have been having an issue with this tree I call the Friar Tuck. So it has nice and bushy all around, and the center is extremely thin, so it kind of bold on the top. I've been trying to get this thing to fill in for the last couple of years. One of the biggest things that I've noticed is that I need to keep the tree compact, because as you can see, the garden's quite small. This is an extension from this year as well, which I already picked out this very heavily in springtime. This is a piece which has just come out in the last month, and that needs to be reduced as well. We can cut that back. So what I'm going to be doing is cutting back big long shoots like this, and then also some of this big long extension shoots like this. And the other trick is a partial defoliation, and there's a bunch of different ways to do it, but it looks really brutal, but it helps the tree quite a bit. And the only thing that you need to do is just come in here and start ripping out foliage and pulling it down the ground. You don't want to take out all of it, but you want to lighten the tree up so that underneath gets much more light. And then you keep the underside of the tree growing more healthy. It will get more light. I know it looks super violent. First time I ever saw this technique being applied. This is typically a bonsai technique that's used in order to produce more dense growth by removing some of the leaves. But this really helps with your garden trees to keep them dense, and then by pruning them back, it helps them to compact. So yeah, this looks pretty wild. You can come in and be as detailed as you want with leaf picking. A lot of people say you should just come in and take one, as it bifurcates, only take one of the leaves. But I've done this every year with this tree, and I don't remove everything. I only do it when the tree is very healthy, which it's almost always been since it's been here. And don't do this with a sick tree, let it just heal itself. And this thing will, in about a month, start to send out another section of growth that is going to fill in all of these little holes that you're making, and those things will allow your tree to be much more dense in a much smaller space. And so you can get this nice refined looking tree and keep it really small. It also allows you to kind of see into the branching structure, which is nice. But basically, I'm gonna just go around the whole tree. That's almost it. I gotta do around the front and prune off long stuff, but basically that's it. Don't be afraid of your Japanese maple. They're extremely resilient plants. They're gonna come back if you just keep them watered, keep them fertilized. Easy on the fertilization. Don't get too wild on that either. They don't really like heavy fertilization. And that's it. That is going to add a bunch of light down into here so that these branches back in the lower section are going to put on new growth in a month or so. Now we'll prune back some of this bigger awkward stuff. This is what's been pinched out in spring, and this is the new elongated growth. Since then we just come in here and remove there. I also want to remove a pair, keep that out. Here's another extension from 2. Just take out, leave 1, that shortens you up. I have over here this big extension. This is all from this season, and I have a smaller set here. Take this out and leave only this. So now you can see how much light is coming in through the tree. Much more light being shining down all the way to the ground as well. And then you see up here on the top, the hole's a little bit filled in. We cut back on some of those bigger branches to hopefully get that to fill in. And the tree's been lightened up quite a bit. You can even see it down on the grass down there. So that's all we need to do for spring for maintaining the tree in a small garden and creating it to be more dense.